into the future, what do you see? I really need to know now, is there a place for me? If we're gonna survive, the dream must stay alive.
Authorities are appealing for calm throughout the evacuation process.
The Tribe, A New World by A.J. Penn. Chapter 3. Despite thinking the situation couldn't get any worse, Amber realized that they were now moving into a more difficult state than before. That morning, the last of the food supplies had run out. Amber carefully rationing a small tin of rice pudding, giving most of the share to the youngest, Brady and baby Bray. She had done her best to stretch the rations as far as she could during their voyage, but there were too many mouths to feed, not enough food, and now there was no food. The final bottles of drinking water had also been used up first thing that day, but thankfully the boat had passed through a rain squall during the night. Jack's improvised water collection had done its job well, a little pool from the rain being held in the tarpaulin, which Jack was trying to carefully drip feed into the empty bottles. Amber's lips were sore. They kept cracking open, resulting in a number of little cuts which bled from time to time. Her physical condition was deteriorating, as it was with the others, and she wondered if they had the onset of scurvy or God knows what other kind of illness. This is how sailors in the old days must have felt, Amber considered. She had studied elements of the European voyages of discovery at school in history, and in a way felt an affinity with the explorers. A connection. After all, she too was on her own epic adventure. Except, at least the sailors knew what they were doing, whereas Amber and her tribe had limited natural skills, and now were hopelessly lost, running out of hope. Baby Bray was fast asleep in Amber's arms. She cradled him protectively and tried to keep calm. She knew that panic was the last thing they needed right now. But it was hard to keep a level head with the constant tension in the air and anxiety of all the others. The stress of their dire situation was getting to everybody. Amber focused on her baby. He was so beautiful, pure and innocent, but hungry. And without any more food, Amber dreaded to think. Most of the tribe sat on the outer decks. It had been too hot and humid to be down below lately. There was no air circulation, and it was more comfortable, relatively speaking. Various people reacted in different ways to the situation. Their only routine was that they had no routine. Each day was just like the day before, with the boat drifting. A collective delirium was almost setting in. Some were bored. Others tried to find ways to pass the time. But all were worried about what the future lay in store for them. I spy with my little eye something beginning with S, Jell said to Lottie and Sammy playfully, for the umpteenth time. C, Lottie blurted out unenthusiastically. You could at least try to enjoy it, Jell complained. I spy something beginning with I. Idiot! Ram scoffed disdainfully at Jell as he paced back and forth. Lex immediately sprang to his feet, pinning Ram by the throat to the wall. And I spy something beginning with L. Loser about to go overboard. Lex glared menacingly. "Let him go, Lex," Amber demanded, crossing to them. "Come on, let's not make matters worse." Slade and Jay moved to Ram and Lex, separating them. "Back off, Lex. Now's not the time," Jay said. Lex released his grip, but glared as Jay and Slade led Ram away. "Just don't turn your back on me, pal." "I mean it," Lex threatened. "You're not even a mole rat. And after all you've done in the past, you have no right to even speak." "We're all in the same boat now, though, Lex," Salene said gently. "And we've got to look out for each other." "Or how about we all leap over the side? End it now," Trudy suggested. "Don't give up hope, Trudy," Amber said encouragingly, while casting a knowing glance at Salene. Amber had mentioned earlier to all of them that they especially needed to keep an eye on Trudy. If she lost hope, then with her precarious state of mind, who knows what would happen? She might try and harm herself. Amber hoped that her suspicions would prove to be inaccurate, but deep down thought it was wise to implement a suicide watch. At the bow, May and Zack sat next to each other, talking, holding hands. They had been chatting the whole morning. For all that they had known each other back in the city, they were bonding more throughout the voyage. May had never been lucky in love. Those she had lost her heart to before had either fallen for someone else, like Pride with Salene, or something had gotten in the way of May having a close relationship. Maybe this time it could be different. If they all survived, of course. On the upper deck, Ebony had been trying to find some shade and get some fresh air. She stared at Ruby and Slade nearby, who were themselves engrossed in conversation, reminiscing about people and adventures shared in the past, in the town of Liberty, where both had spent some considerable time. Earlier that day, Ebony had tried to make up with Slade, again after their previous argument. Slade wouldn't accept Ebony's apologies, however, instead wanting her to stay away from him, as far as possible within the limited confines of the tiny trawler. He couldn't forgive the things she had said about his brother Mega, the insensitivity she had displayed at his death. Yes, it was true that Mega had been responsible for many terrible things as a leading member of the Techno tribe, and was instrumental in releasing the virus, causing them to flee the city. Slade was still trying to come to terms with it all, and had difficulty reconciling Mega's actions with the emotional sense of loss he felt as a result of his brother's death. But what really got to Slade was the fact that Ebony seemed to have selective moral standards. She was the last person to criticize anyone. He was sure that she was no angel, being a past leader of the Loco tribe. And her hypocrisy repulsed Slade. He needed time to go over it all in his mind, but primarily space away from Ebony. In her mind, it seemed like Slade was spending too much time with Ruby, rather than time alone mourning his brother and thinking over things, including their fractured relationship. Maybe she was being paranoid, though, and wondered if Ruby and Slade were just idly talking. Or was he deliberately being with Ruby in front of Ebony to teach her some kind of a lesson? Make a point? Whatever was going on, Ebony felt pangs of bitter jealousy. She was angry at Slade and resentful towards Ruby. Ruby was a survivor who made the most of her opportunities. Ebony didn't trust her. Her mind calculating, Ebony wondered the best way how to win back her man. After the altercation between Lex and Ram, Salene moved along the deck to dangle an improvised fishing line in the water. Her dad had taken her fishing many times as a young girl, but so far she had caught nothing. It was almost as if the ocean was empty of fish. "You really think you're going to catch something?" Darryl asked, as he sat beside Salene, looking out over the side of the boat. "If I don't try, I'll never know. Will I?" Salene responded, concentrating on the fishing line. A little piece of dried rice pudding had been tied to the other end of the line. Salene hoped something would take a bite, though the notion of a fish eating rice pudding was quite ludicrous to her. What would her dad have thought of using that as bait? Darryl inched closer to Salene and smiled suavely. "There's plenty of fish in the sea." "What's that supposed to mean?" Salene asked, but suspected Darryl wasn't just interested in her fishing. "Oh, you know, I'm single, you're single. Everyone else around here pretty much are couples. There's Jack and Ellie, Amber and Jay, Ruby, or Ebony and Slade. May and Zach seem to be getting on okay. Jill thinks she and Lex are an item. And well, it's just a pity to be alone. I don't know. How about you and I?" Salene, flustered, unsure how to respond, sighed. "That's lovely, Darryl. And you're sweet." "So are you," Darryl quickly beamed. "But the answer's no. No offense, but it's not the time for this. And you're not my type." "Oh, come on. A good-looking girl like you, a good-looking guy like me," Darryl insisted. "Right now, I would rather kiss a good-looking fish. I'm sorry, but no, Darryl." The line tugged in her hand. "I've got one! I've got one!"